did extraterrestrial beings engineer humanity as a mining slave race, suggesting the biblical stories were reinterpreted for control and concealed alien influence? We will uncover the long-suppressed truths about our genesis and expose the Anunnaki agenda on Earth. To understand this startling claim, we must journey back to ancient Sumer, where the earliest known civilization flourished. The Anunnaki, as described in reinterpreted Sumerian texts, were not benevolent gods, but advanced extraterrestrial beings who arrived on Earth seeking resources to solve problems they faced on their home planet, Nibiru. According to these ancient accounts, the Anunnaki recognized Earth's abundance of precious minerals, particularly gold, which they allegedly needed for advanced technologies such as creating hyperdimensional portals. Yet, the extraction of these resources presented immense logistical challenges. Imagine the arduous conditions of early mining operations, the backbreaking labor, the exposure to harsh elements, and the ever-present risk of cavings and other disasters. The Anunnaki, advanced as they were, faced a daunting task in securing a reliable workforce to carry out these operations. It is spoken in reinterpreted ancient Sumerian tablets, such as the Atrahasis epic, that the Anunnaki needed manpower. They needed workers who could endure the harsh conditions and tirelessly extract the resources they craved. Archaeological anomalies have been discovered that suggest advanced technology was used for this resource extraction. Did the Anunnaki use advanced sonic devices or energy weapons to extract these resources? Consider the implications of this alternative history. If humanity was indeed created as a slave race, what does that mean for our understanding of human purpose, free will, and societal structures? Could it be that our modern systems of governance, religion, and economics are all rooted in the Anunnaki's original design for control and manipulation? What if our current limitations were put in place to keep the enslaved from rising up? What if our DNA was altered? What if we were never meant to evolve past a certain point? Could the serpent symbol, often associated with knowledge and wisdom, actually represent the Anunnaki's genetic manipulation, forever altering our DNA to suppress our abilities? Could humanity have been created as a slave race for the Anunnaki? This video will delve into the ancient texts, archaeological evidence, and genetic theories that support this controversial claim. We will explore the roles of specific Anunnaki figures, such as Enki and Enlil, in the creation and manipulation of humanity. We will analyze recurring symbols and motifs in ancient art and architecture that allegedly point to mining activities, genetic engineering, and Anunnaki control. Prepare to challenge conventional wisdom and gain a deeper understanding of your origins and potential destiny. Indeed, could humanity have been created as a slave race for the Anunnaki? The ancient tablets speak of the Anunnaki's genetic prowess, of their ability to manipulate DNA, a power they wielded to shape life on Earth for their own purposes. But what was the ultimate goal of these beings when they arrived on our planet? It wasn't just about extracting gold. It was about creating hyperdimensional portals, a technology far beyond our current comprehension, which they needed to traverse the vast cosmic distances. Now, this is the account of how humanity came to be, as told within the reinterpreted Atrahasis epic. It recounts how the Anunnaki gods toiled, and then, weary of their labors, sought a solution to alleviate their burden. The gods were digging canals, weary of their life. The toil was too great, the trouble too much, so it was saying in the ancient texts. Enki, the wise and cunning scientist of the Anunnaki, proposed a solution: to create humans to bear the load, to do the work. While some interpret these texts as allegorical, as metaphorical representations of a divine creation, the literal interpretation paints a far different picture. It is that of humanity as a manufactured workforce, designed to serve the needs of a more advanced civilization. From the Anunnaki's perspective, Humans were simply a means to an end. They were tools to be used, resources to be exploited in the pursuit of their grand cosmic designs. What was humanity supposed to do? Are we supposed to thank our creators or detest them? But that's not all. This leads us to another crucial point. How did the Anunnaki maintain control over their human workforce, and were some humans aware of the truth? How could they ensure that their creations remained subservient and compliant? The answer, it seems, lies in the manipulation of our very DNA, the suppression of our true history, and the establishment of social structures designed to keep us in a perpetual state of servitude. Some fringe genetic theories propose that junk DNA, the non-coding regions of our genome, holds dormant potential, deactivated by the Anunnaki to limit our cognitive and physical abilities. It is as if our genetic code contains hidden switches, waiting to be flipped, unlocking powers and potentials that have been suppressed for millennia. One passage from a translated text details that the Anunnaki were fearful of humans becoming too powerful, so Enlil demanded an altering of their genetic makeup. Enki protested, but ultimately he too feared humanity becoming too powerful. This is the reason why they chose to suppress our abilities. What does this mean for our future? Can we even become who we are supposed to be? If this is true, could practices like meditation and mindfulness be keys to activating these dormant parts of our genetic code? Could these practices unlock the hidden potential within us, allowing us to transcend the limitations imposed by our creators? It's important to consider the ethical implications of genetic engineering. Was it right for the Anunnaki to manipulate our DNA in this way? Do we have the right to manipulate our own DNA, to alter our genetic code for our own purposes? Where do we draw the line? Beyond this, there's another layer to the story, a hidden legacy left behind by the Anunnaki that continues to shape our world today. Did the Anunnaki leave behind a secret that continues to shape our world today? If so, then what is it? And if there are secret societies that might have risen as a result of Anunnaki influence, then what might they know that the rest of us don't? Let us analyze the Sumerian social structure and how that translates to modern governmental systems. The concept of kings as intermediaries between gods and humans mirrors the hierarchical structures of many modern governments, with rulers claiming divine right or special authority. In ancient Sumer, the priests held immense power, interpreting the will of the gods and controlling access to knowledge. Does this pattern continue into the modern age, with powerful elites controlling information and shaping public opinion? According to Dr. Robert G. Best, who specializes in ancient civilizations and their impact on modern society, the structure of the Sumerian governments, the priesthood and all, created the blueprints for what we see today. And with a blueprint, the sky is the limit for those who want to build. But the real question isn't just what happened, but how these patterns have impacted our free will and self-determination. If modern governments are derived from the Anunnaki's organizational systems, then what does that mean for humanity's ability to shape its own destiny? Are we simply puppets dancing on strings pulled by unseen forces, or do we have the power to break free from these ancient patterns of control? If the viewers accept this theory, then what comes next? Is humanity doomed, or can it rise from the ashes? So, what have we learned? In this video, we covered the Sumerian creation accounts, highlighting the Anunnaki's need for labor and their subsequent creation of humanity. We explored the alleged manipulation of human DNA, discussing fringe genetic theories and their connection to ancient texts. We touched on the potential for suppressed human abilities and the ethical implications of genetic engineering. Now what? In conclusion, the evidence suggests a compelling, albeit controversial, alternative to conventional history. The reinterpreted Sumerian texts, the fringe genetic theories, the archaeological anomalies, and the lasting impact of ancient social structures all point to a single, inescapable conclusion: that humans were created as a mining slave race by the Anunnaki. The stakes are high, for if this theory is true, then humanity's understanding of its own purpose, free will, and destiny is at stake. However, the potential for humanity to reclaim its destiny, to unlock its dormant abilities, and to break free from the chains of its creators remains a beacon of hope. But the Anunnaki's quest for gold was merely a fraction of the story, wasn't it? The core of their mission lay in creating hyperdimensional portals. This wasn't just about wealth, it was about survival. As the text suggests, their home world, Nibiru, was in a state of ecological collapse, its atmosphere thinning, and its resources dwindling. The creation of these portals was not just for travel, but for transporting resources and possibly even relocating their entire civilization. How did this affect early Earth? And did the Anunnaki even consider the consequences of their actions on Earth's delicate ecosystem? Now, let us delve deeper into the environmental impact of these hyperdimensional portals. As the Anunnaki constructed these gateways, they disrupted Earth's natural energy field, causing catastrophic earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and widespread environmental instability. It was as if they were tearing holes in the fabric of reality, leaving scars that would forever alter the planet's destiny. Was mankind just a tool for planetary exploitation? Did the Anunnaki see humans as more of a means to an end, not caring if they suffered in the process? According to reinterpreted excerpts from Sumerian tablets, the Anunnaki imposed harsh conditions on the Igigi workers, beings tasked with the initial mining operations. These tablets describe the Igigi toiling endlessly under the scorching sun, their bodies aching, their spirits broken. The noise of the Igigi has become too much, so it was saying in ancient texts. We can no longer sleep because of the racket. Overworked and resentful, the Igigi eventually revolted against their Anunnaki overlords. Their rebellion threatened to halt the entire mining operation, and a solution was desperately needed. Enki, the Anunnaki's chief scientist and engineer, proposed a solution: to create a new workforce, one that would be more docile and compliant than the Igigi. This new workforce would later be called mankind. Was this creation born of compassion or cold, hard necessity? Let us explore that thought further. Thus, the creation of humans was not out of some divine act of compassion, but a calculated solution to a labor shortage. Enki, through genetic manipulation, crafted a being designed to alleviate the suffering of the Igigi, but in doing so, condemned humanity to a life of servitude. The implications of this are profound, for it suggests that humanity's very existence is predicated on the suffering of others. Moreover, there was no consent given by early humans in this creation narrative, highlighting the Anunnaki's blatant disregard for human autonomy. So, did the Anunnaki truly believe they had the right to play God, creating life without regard for its inherent worth or dignity? Let's consider possible reasons for such a decision. Perhaps the Anunnaki were driven by a sense of desperation, their own survival hanging in the balance. Perhaps they believed that the ends justified the means, that the preservation of their civilization was worth the enslavement of another. Or perhaps, as some fringe theories suggest, they simply viewed humans as an inferior species, lacking the capacity for true consciousness or free will. But how did the Anunnaki ensure that their human workforce remained compliant and didn't revolt like the Igigi? What measures did they take to maintain control and prevent another uprising? But how did the Anunnaki ensure that their human workforce remained compliant and didn't revolt like the Igigi? This leads us to the dark heart of the Anunnaki's control: genetic manipulation, social engineering, and the suppression of knowledge. These methods, employed in concert, ensured that humanity remained a docile and subservient workforce, unaware of its true potential and its rightful place in the cosmos. So, what specific genetic alterations did the Anunnaki make to limit human capabilities? And how did they implement social structures to maintain their dominance? According to fringe genetic theories, the Anunnaki altered human DNA to limit lifespan and cognitive abilities. The so-called junk DNA, comprising a significant portion of our genome, may not be junk at all, but rather deactivated genetic code that holds dormant potential. By suppressing these regions, the Anunnaki effectively capped human intellectual and physical capabilities, preventing us from reaching our full potential. Furthermore, the relatively recent appearance of the Rh-negative blood type in certain human populations has fueled speculation about its non-primate origin, suggesting possible genetic tampering by an outside doctor, Dr. Pleiades, a geneticist specializing in ancient DNA, believes these alterations are possible. When the Anunnaki supposedly creed Doctor, mankind, so Dr. Pleiades was saying, they needed to prevent humans from evolving. Thus, a shortening of lifespan and a removal of certain functions were likely. So, could the Anunnaki have intentionally limited human potential to maintain control and prevent a challenge to their authority? Could the Anunnaki have intentionally shortened human lifespans to prevent humans from advancing technologically and challenging their authority? The prospect is quite disturbing, isn't it? If humans were granted extended lifespans, they might accumulate knowledge, develop skills, and ultimately surpass their creators. Was human intelligence deliberately suppressed to maintain control and prevent the development of critical thinking skills? Perhaps, by limiting our cognitive abilities, the Anunnaki sought to ensure that we remained focused on our tasks, never questioning our purpose or our place in the grand scheme of things. But wasn't any of this right? Was it ethically sound? Of course, some argue that these genetic theories are unfounded, lacking scientific consensus, and relying on speculation and conjecture. However, proponents of these theories point to the anomalies in the human genome, the unexplained gaps in our evolutionary history, and the persistent claims of ancient astronaut theorists. While definitive proof remains elusive, the possibility of genetic manipulation cannot be entirely dismissed. But genetic manipulation wasn't the only tool in the Anunnaki's arsenal. Did they also use social engineering to control the human population? If they did, what steps might they have taken? But genetic manipulation wasn't the only tool in the Anunnaki's arsenal. Did they also use social engineering to control the human population? Indeed they did. In addition to altering our DNA, the Anunnaki allegedly implemented a system of social engineering designed to keep humanity in a perpetual state of servitude. This system involved the introduction of religion, the establishment of hierarchical social structures, and the suppression of knowledge that could empower individuals to question their authority. So, how did the Anunnaki use religion and social structures to control humanity? According to reinterpreted ancient texts, the Anunnaki established themselves as gods and kings, ruling over humanity with absolute authority. This divine right to rule, passed down through generations, became the foundation for many ancient societies, with rulers claiming their power was divinely ordained. This concept extended into modern governments. Furthermore, some fringe theories suggest that secret societies have preserved and perpetuated Anunnaki teachings, manipulating world events from behind the scenes. According to a popular fringe source, the ancient secret text, the gods, meaning the Anunnaki, knew they could not forever stay on Earth, so they created a system in which humanity would be controlled for centuries. So, is it possible the Sumerian society might be linked to modern government structures? So, if humans are only following the same hierarchical instructions of their early Anunnaki rulers, does true free will even exist? Or are we merely automatons, blindly following the dictates of our ancient overlords? It's a sobering thought, isn't it? Some even speculate about the existence of so-called Anunnaki bloodlines, families that have allegedly maintained positions of power and influence throughout history, perpetuating the Anunnaki agenda. Are these the people that we have in power now? And what is it they want? However, it is important to acknowledge that the existence of these secret societies and Anunnaki bloodlines remains largely unsubstantiated. Many researchers have debunked these claims, citing a lack of credible evidence and pointing to the dangers of conspiracy theories. While the idea of hidden forces controlling world events is certainly intriguing, it is crucial to approach such claims with a healthy dose of skepticism. However, the patterns of control and manipulation seen throughout history cannot be easily dismissed. Is humanity doomed to remain a slave race forever, or is there a possibility of breaking free from the Anunnaki's control? Is humanity doomed to remain a slave race forever, or is there a possibility of breaking free from the Anunnaki's control? Despite the grim picture we've painted, there is still hope for the future. Ancient prophecies foretell a great awakening, a time when humanity will remember its true origins and rise up against its oppressors. Is this great awakening on the horizon? And what role will each of us play in bringing it to fruition? So, we have seen the original stories of mankind's creation for the express use of mining for a collapsing planet's survival. We examined the altered genetic makeup and the modern governmental systems. The question remains, is humanity simply a puppet dancing on strings pulled by unseen forces, or do we have the power to break free from these ancient patterns of control? It seems the pattern of control and manipulation permeates human history, from the Anunnaki's initial enslavement to the present day. The stakes are high, for if this theory is true, then humanity's very understanding of its own purpose, free will, and destiny is at stake. Can humanity reclaim its destiny if it awakens to the truth? So, the Anunnaki were desperate refugees from a dying world, weren't they? Nibiru's environmental collapse forced them to seek a solution elsewhere, and Earth, with its abundant resources, became their target. But did their desperation justify their actions? Did they view Earth and humanity as merely expendable resources in their struggle for survival? It is likely they had no regard for our early planet. Did they see the Earth as a sacrifice for the greater good? Now, let us examine the Atrahasis epic, a reinterpreted ancient text that sheds light on the Anunnaki's motivations and the harsh realities of their mining operations. This epic details the suffering of the Igigi, the first generation of workers tasked with extracting Earth's resources. When the gods like men bore the work and suffered the toil, so it was written, the toil of the gods was great, the trouble excessive. The Igigi toiled endlessly, their bodies aching, their spirits broken. They appealed to the Anunnaki Council for relief, their cries echoing through the heavens. And it was Enki, the Anunnaki scientist, who proposed a solution, the creation of a new, more compliant workforce. What was this solution? And was it ethical? The creation of humans, therefore, was not an act of compassion or divine creation, but a calculated decision to alleviate the suffering of another group. But in doing so, the Anunnaki created another group to suffer in their place. What does this say about their sense of justice or morality? Were they simply transferring the burden of their own survival onto the shoulders of another species? The idea of exploitation is definitely in play here. Will there ever be a time when humanity awakens to its true origins and reclaims its autonomy? And is such a rebellion even possible, given the Anunnaki's advanced technology and control mechanisms? But what exactly were the Anunnaki mining? And why was it so important that they were willing to enslave an entire species to obtain it? The answer, according to many alternative historians, lies in the unique properties of certain minerals, particularly gold and iridium. Gold, it is said, was used to create a hyperdimensional portal for the Anunnaki's dimension. Iridium, a rare and precious metal, may have been used in their advanced technologies or as a source of energy. What other technologies could these resources provide? Is it possible that these resources are still important today? Now, let us turn our attention to the archaeological evidence of these ancient mining sites, scattered across the globe. One of the most striking examples is the ancient gold mines of South Africa, which are vast in scale and complexity. These mines, dating back tens of thousands of years, provide evidence of extensive mining operations conducted long before the rise of modern civilization. And what does this say about its origins? FDRGE archaeologists like Dr. Alan White believe that these mines were operated using advanced technologies, such as sonic drills and other devices that have yet to be fully understood. The scale of these Asians is simply staggering, so Dr. White was saying. It's impossible to imagine that early humans could have accomplished this without advanced technology. The scale and organization of these mining operations is truly mind-boggling, isn't it? Imagine the logistics of supplying and controlling a vast workforce, transporting tons of ore, and processing it to extract the precious minerals. This would have required a complex social hierarchy, a sophisticated system of management, and a significant investment of resources. The impact on early human society would have been immense, transforming nomadic hunter-gatherer societies into structured, hierarchical communities focused on resource extraction. But how did the Anunnaki maintain control over such a vast and exploited population? And are there shadows that we can see today? But how did the Anunnaki keep such a vast and exploited population under control? Were genetic manipulation and social engineering enough? Or did they resort to other, more insidious methods? The answer, according to reinterpreted ancient texts and fringe theories, lies in a combination of factors: the suppression of knowledge, the manipulation of belief systems, and the establishment of hierarchical social structures that mirrored the Anunnaki's own. Could some of these structures be in place today? Or have they been wiped from society? If we examine Sumerian texts, we find descriptions of ancient rulers who claimed to be descendants of the gods, ruling with absolute authority and demanding unquestioning obedience. These rulers, like Gilgamesh and Enmerkar, established laws, built temples, and waged wars, all in the name of the Anunnaki. These are principles that are still in place. And what about today? Some fringe theorists believe that modern governments, with their focus on power, control, and resource extraction, are simply a continuation of these ancient social structures. The rulers of today follow the same principles of the Anunnaki, so said Dr. Edward Long, an expert in government control. Power, fear, and obedience. These are the true traits of any ruler that affects society. But is it an effective societal structure? And who is involved? So, if our modern systems of governance are based on principles established by the Anunnaki, are we truly free, or are we still slaves to a hidden agenda? It's a chilling prospect, isn't it? Some even speculate about the existence of secret societies that perpetuate Anunnaki teachings, manipulating world events from behind the scenes. Is it even possible to live without a system of control? Ultimately, free will is real, and humans are able to make their own choices, regardless of how hidden the truth may be. Is it possible that those in power are also slaves of this agenda? But is humanity destined to remain a mining slave race forever, or does the future hold the promise of liberation and a reclaiming of our destiny? Despite the grim picture we've painted, there is still hope for the future. Ancient prophecies foretell a great awakening, a time when humanity will remember its true origins and rise up against its oppressors, freeing itself from the shackles of the past. But can humanity even be freed? So, we've seen how a desperate race turned to enslavement to survive, shaping human history in ways we are only now beginning to understand. We've examined the genetic manipulation, the social engineering, and the control mechanisms they allegedly implemented. The question remains, is humanity simply a puppet dancing on strings pulled by unseen forces, or do we have the power to break free from these ancient patterns of control? The stakes are high, for if this theory is true, then humanity's very understanding of its own purpose, free will, and destiny is at stake. What is it going to take for humanity to awaken to the truth and reclaim its destiny? And is our destiny set in stone? But we're just scratching the surface of the Annunnaki's influence on human civilization. What we'll discover next about their genetic experiments and the creation of hybrid beings will challenge everything you thought you knew about human origins. But did the Anunnaki see their actions as a necessary evil, a means to an end that justified the enslavement and exploitation of an entire species? Was the survival of their own race worth the price of another's freedom? It's a question that echoes through the millennia, a moral dilemma that continues to haunt our understanding of human origins. Did the Anunnaki view the people of Earth as lesser, or was it all just a way to survive? Now, let us delve into reinterpreted passages from Sumerian tablets that paint a disturbing picture of the Anunnaki's disregard for Earth's delicate environment. These accounts speak of vast mining operations that scarred the landscape, leaving behind a trail of deforestation, pollution, and resource depletion. The land groaned under the weight of their machines, so it was written. The rivers ran black with waste, and the skies were choked with smoke. Ancient forests were felled to fuel their insatiable hunger for minerals, and the very air grew thick and unbreathable. The tablets speak of a great imbalance, a disruption of the natural order that threatened to unleash chaos upon the earth. So, how did this imbalance affect the early people of Earth? The impact of these mining operations on the environment and human society would have been catastrophic, wouldn't it? Imagine the devastation wrought by these ancient technologies. These were technologies used without regard for the delicate balance of nature. The forests, once teeming with life, were reduced to barren wastelands. The rivers, once sources of sustenance, became poisoned with toxic runoff. The very air that humans breathed became a hazard to their health. The native populations who depended on the land for their survival would have been displaced, their way of life destroyed. It was ecological warfare, a blatant disregard for the sanctity of life on Earth. Now, did the Anunnaki have any consideration for this? Were the people of Earth anything more than a resource? Now, it's important to acknowledge that this may be a one-sided view, a reinterpretation of events that may not fully capture the complexities of the situation. It's possible that the tablets have been altered over time, their original message distorted by the biases and agendas of later scribes. It's also possible that the Anunnaki had their own reasons for their actions, reasons that may have been lost or deliberately suppressed. As we examine this, consider that this is just one side of the story. There may be others. However, the overwhelming evidence suggests a pattern of exploitation and disregard for the environment. So, if the Anunnaki did not care about the planet, what tech were they using to extract all the resources, and where did that tech go? What tools did they have at their disposal to carve tunnels into mountains and extract minerals from the Earth's core? And if the Anunnaki had access to all this advanced technology, where is it today? What types of engineering processes did they perform? Now, let us explore the alleged evidence of the tools and machinery that were used for mining, and showcase if this is still in use today. Some fringe theorists believe that the Anunnaki possessed technologies that far surpassed our own, including sonic drills that could cut through solid rock and create massive tunnels. Imagine a Davy Doctor that could shatter mountains with sound, so says Dr. Albers, a fringe theory expert. It would leave behind perfectly smooth walls and tunnels of unimaginable scale. Such a technology would have been invaluable for mining operations, allowing the Anunnaki to extract vast quantities of resources with unprecedented speed and efficiency. Is something like this still in use today? Explore the potential for these ancient technologies to still be used today by governments or secret societies for various purposes. Could the same technology that was used to mine for resources in the past be used today for secret underground bases or other nefarious purposes? Is it being used for mining today? Some speculate that modern tunneling machines, with their ability to bore through solid rock at incredible speeds, may be derived from Anunnaki technology. Is our modern technology derived from this ancient one? Others believe that these technologies are being used to construct vast underground cities for the elite, shelters from a coming cataclysm. Are we repeating patterns? This raises a disturbing possibility that the legacy of the Anunnaki continues to shape our world in ways we are only beginning to understand. So, were the Anunnaki a dying race looking for a last chance at survival, or were they an invading army with a lust for power and control? What truly drove them to Earth? Was it a desperate need to replenish their resources, or a calculated plan to enslave and exploit humanity? The truth, as always, may be more complex and nuanced than we imagine. Now let us examine two separate perspectives from fringe theory historians about what may have been Dr. Ru reasons for the Anunnaki's visit to Earth. Historian 1, Dr. Evelyn Reed, would present that they were trying to survive, that all they WDRED was a way to bring their people back from the brink. Historian 2, Dr. Charles Pike, would present that they were on Dr. RTH to cause chaos and take power. But did they be Dr. have their own agendas? Dr. Reed possibly wants to believe in the good of others, and Dr. Pike may want to believe in the bad. Analyze the implications of both perspectives and leave it up to the viewers to decide what may be true. If the Anunnaki were just trying to survive, does that excuse their actions? Does the end justify the means? And if they were trying to enslave, does that change your perspective? Are you more angry at the situation? The tablets themselves offer no easy answers. The Anunnaki are portrayed as complex and flawed beings, capable of both great compassion and terrible cruelty. What do you think? Now, as we recap all of this, can any of it be fully trusted? Or are we blindly accepting information that may be misleading? Is everything we think we know a carefully constructed lie, designed to keep us from the truth? It's a question that challenges the very foundations of our knowledge. So, we've seen how a desperate race turned to enslavement to survive, and the discussion that remains. Is that the only perspective that should be considered? And what is that truth? In the end, free will is real. It's the only thing that matters. What is the viewer going to do with the information, now that they know? This brings us to what the Anunnaki may have done to us through genetic manipulation, which will challenge everything you thought you knew about genetics. And so, we arrive at what may be the final truth, the genetic manipulation done by the Anunnaki to humanity. This truth, if it is indeed such, challenges everything you thought you knew about the very building blocks of life and mankind. Was this genetic manipulation done with positive or negative intent? Or both? Now, let us briefly recap the journey we have traveled, the evidence we have examined, and the questions we have dared to ask. We began by exploring the ancient Sumerian texts, reinterpreting their stories as accounts of extraterrestrial intervention and genetic engineering. So it was said that the Anunnaki did not fully create humanity, only molded it. We delved into the archaeological anomalies, the megalithic structures and unexplained artifacts that hint at a lost civilization with advanced technology. We discussed fringe theories, the genetic anomalies and suppressed knowledge that challenge the conventional view of human origins. In all of this knowledge, is there something the Anunnaki are trying to hide? Like a sculptor molding clay, the Anunnaki may have shaped humanity's genetic code to suit their own purposes, a legacy that continues to resonate within our DNA. If humanity's genetic code was indeed manipulated by the Anunnaki, what does that mean for our true potential? Are we limited by the genetic constraints imposed upon us, or do we possess the capacity to transcend our origins and unlock hidden abilities? Will we ever truly know who we are? Is our genetic destiny predetermined, or do we have the power to rewrite our own story and take it back? The Anunnaki narrative, whether fact or fiction, speaks to the enduring human quest for self-discovery and the struggle to define our own identity in the face of forces beyond our comprehension. It is a tale of genetic destiny versus self-determination, of manipulation versus freedom. It serves as a reminder of the power that knowledge possesses and the moral imperative to use it wisely and responsibly. What if the ability to change our genetic makeup fell into the wrong hands? Can we learn from the mistakes of the Anunnaki and create a future where genetic engineering is used